Okay, okay. Well, thank you all for coming. It's very, very formal now that I'm recording it. But anyway, this
No.
the tank trainer. Um, so I was thinking about what I would talk about, and okay, so I came down with like, the four main things that are expected of the tank, and then we could just like talk about that, and then we could do some questions if you guys had questions, and I would like uh, yeah, cover gameplay a little bit, uh, and then maybe a little bit on setups and a little bit on like skills. Uh, yeah. So basically, tanking is like a very versatile role. It's actually the role I see people do the most different. Uh, I don't know if like you guys have looked at what tanks are running and stuff, and you can see like so many tanks are running so many different things. There are different traits that work. There's like, yeah, so many different sets and just like so many different playstyles, which is very cool. Um, and I also know a lot of you, like not a lot of you, but a lot of people in general are kind of intimidated by tanking. And I just want to say that tanking is not as intimidating as it sounds. Um, it's just like a different type of gameplay, and it's actually pretty fun, in my opinion. Uh, but yeah, so basically, the main thing tank does is protect the DPS and make sure the DPS don't die, and just like, the tank is there for the DPS. Kind of sounds awful, but it's a support role, and you're just there to make the DPS lives easier. So you wanna obviously stay alive, right? But the tank can't protect anybody. So that's number one. And number two, you wanna taunt the boss and the big ads that hurt so that they don't attack anybody else. So that's number two, is keeping up the taunts, which is very important. And number three is positioning. You wanna like, position the boss where it's convenient for the DPS. Basically, you wanna like put the boss and the ads somewhere where you can have maximal DPS, because that's what it's all about. It's just like maximizing the DPS. And number four is just that you buff and you debuff and you help provide, buffs and debuffs for the group in general. Um, so okay, yeah, make sure. But honestly, though, a tank should be able to stay alive a little bit without healers. So basically, though, I'm on a DK now, but I figured I can go on another class later because there's like a little different gameplay. So as you can see, I have like my igneous shields. Is my stream laggy, by the way, for you guys?
Touch, but not bad.
Right, I'll like lower my graphics a little. And we'll see. It will be ugly, but it'll be alright. Okay, so basically, I have my igneous shields on my bar. That's like one of my defensive things. So as a tank, I always have a heal. So for me, this is this coagulating blood. This is the DK self heal, which is very good. Some DK tanks prefer to use the other one, which is also fine. This one is a little more bursty, whereas the other one is like over time. So again, this is like a preference thing, gameplay thing. I use this one. So yeah, you can sometimes go without a self heal, but I recommend like having a safe self heal on your bar. Next, you want to make sure you have resistances. That's like the main and most important stat of a tank, except the health. So your resistances. This is the resistance skill for the Dragon Knight. As you can see, it gives you major resolve. All the tank classes, they have a skill that gives major resolve. Some even give minor resolve, but the most important thing is that you have a skill that gives you this. Especially if you're running dungeons and stuff, you want to make sure to have this up. As I can see, it gives you like 6,000 resistance, which is it's a lot, and it's very good. And then they all like do a bit different things, but the main thing is that this is like an armor skill. So yeah, you want to make sure to have a lot of resistances. As you can see now, this is my tank. He looks ugly because he's a vampire, so he has like this The skin. But you can look here, you can look at your resistance. So my spell resistance here is 24,000. The cap is 33,000. So you want to try to be like close to 33 when you're fully buffed up. So the buffs you can use then is the major resolve from hardened armor, and you can use minor resolve from resolving vigor. And if I do my hardened armor and I do my vigor, I go and say, oh, I am at 33. So that's like perfect. Then I am at my resistance cap. So this is important as a tank, just to like check. But you can be at like, 31. That's okay. It kind of depends a bit on what you're doing. And if you're doing like trash, you don't need that much. Yeah, see now my buffs went out and I'm down to 22 again. So that's just like important to remember as a tank. Yeah, as Bjorn says. Yeah, but for like when you're starting out, I do recommend a heal on your bar. So yeah, as a Dragon Knight, I sometimes run both Resolving Vigor and Hardened Armor, just to like, then I feel safe. These are my two defensive skills, and they keep me alive if I manage to keep them up. And you can definitely notice if like your Hardened Armor has run out, you can totally tell that like, oh, I take a lot more damage now. So basically, you want to make sure to stay alive. And, another way to stay alive is by blocking. It's kind of obvious though, but if you're scared, you block, and like you block heavy attacks or you roll heavy attacks. Sometimes they hurt a lot, so then you have to roll them. All right, I'm kind of getting out of I'm derailing. But yeah, basically, so to stay alive, you buff yourself up. So like, say you're like taunting something, you're starting out, and you're like, okay, I pop this one, I pop this one, and then I'm like, I'm ready to go. Another thing that usually kills tanks too is sustain issues. Some people like to say that tanking is like it's like a sustain minigame, which is kind of true. It's like if you run out of stamina when you're blocking, you're kind of dead. And there are tons of ways to like mitigate this. For example, a lot of the tanks, they have sustain skills. The DK doesn't, but they have this passive. Which is it? Yeah, here with the Earth and Heart. So when you cast an ability that is an Earth and Heart ability, you will restore stamina. I see. Where is it? This. When you cast an Earth and Heart ability, you restore stamina. So what I do on my DK, if I am down with stamina, I spam the shield. So this shields me, this protects me, and then I get stamina back. And yeah, it'll take a little magicka, but that's okay, because the most important stat you have is stamina. So that is also why, as you can see here on my stats, I have more stam than I have mag. And this is because when you take synergies, you will only restore your main resource, or more of the main resource. So that's why I always want to have stam, so that when I take a synergy, I will get stam back. And also, obviously, health, very important for the tank. My health now is at 39, which is pretty good. When you get a warden in the group, it'll go up with 2k. I'll be at like 42, which will be good. So you want to like be between 37 and 42 as a tank. It depends a lot because, different gear gives different lines. So now, I just put something on my tank now, but like, Turning Tide has 2 lines of health, for example. So that will automatically give me a bit more health. And Saxiel gives magic and stamina. So it doesn't actually give you any health. So that's why your health will like differ a little bit depending on what you're wearing. And that's also why I'm saying like, between 37 and 42 is okay, because it depends. So yeah, that is like the main staying alive things, right? And then we have the taunt. The taunt is like super important. there are many different ways to taunt. One shouldn't think that, but there's so many different ways. The main taunt, let me show you, it's that a lot of people use these days is the Undaunted taunt, the Inner Rage. This got buffed recently, so it gives you like the Radiant Synergy, as you guys can see. So this actually increases the DPS because the DPS can take this, and it's actually pretty good damage for DPS. And that's why tanks run these. You can also run this one, the Destructive Clench. If you have an Ice Staff, this one taunts. This one is good because it gives major maim to the enemy, so it does less damage to you as a tank. So if you are tanking a boss that hurts a lot, then I would recommend using this one. And then last but not least, you have the one-handed shield. It's this one, Puncture. Well, it's not actually Puncture. It's called Pierce Armor. It's called when you morph it, which inflicts major and minor breach on the enemy. But it is a melee taunt. And those are the 3 main taunts in the game, and you definitely need one of those on your bar when you are tanking, because your main job is to taunt the boss. A lot of people will be like, oh, but you can taunt with chains, which you can, but they are soft taunts, which means that if another tank has taunted something and you go and chain it, then your chain won't work. It'll only work if nothing has taunted that boss before. So it can be like a little clumsy to taunt then. So I definitely recommend to have a taunt on your bar. I'm not gonna cover the scribing things because I don't use scribing taunts.
Describing chain is good though.
The scribing chain is good, yeah. I have it on my
That
other
way you don't have
ones.
to run it on Stam for the other classes.
So yeah, this is like the DK chain, but otherwise you can like do the scribing chain, which is very good. It's in the Soul Magic. I'll actually show you guys the for all the other classes that aren't a DK, I do recommend the chains. Oh, I haven't I haven't done scribing on this character. I'll show it later on another one. But yeah, anyway. So that is basically the taunting thing. I want to talk a little more about chaining, but before that, I just want to talk about destruction staff versus one-handed shield, because that's also a preference thing. Like, I prefer to tank with double staff. I just have 2 sack staffs now because I just put it on super quick. But the reason you want to do ice staff is to keep up the debuff that is called Major Brittle, which increases the critical damage done to the target. And this is done by, in many ways, but if you have an ice staff, it's pretty easy to keep up. There are pros and cons, but there are kind of not that many pros anymore to do one-handed shield, because there's this CP called Bulwark that increases your spell and physical resistance with an ice staff. Oh, it's actually a shield too, though. But yeah, basically, you can definitely tank with an ice staff. The only problem with the ice staff is that like, you have no way of heavy attacking to getting your stam back, right? So you need to like manage your stam a little better and have other ways of maybe getting it back, but just be a little careful. If you want to take, like, if you have a destruction staff or an ice staff, you have to be careful or like consider whether you want to use this passive or not. This passive, we just want to look at the ice staff. So it says that while an ice staff is equipped, blocking costs magicka instead of stamina. So that's the only reason you want to like decide whether to use this or not. The others are good. Good passives. But yeah, so this one, say I have Trifocus on. That means that if I block on this bar, my magicka will go down and all my stamina. Some tanks like this. They think it's fun to like have sword and board on their front bar and then this ice staff on their back bar, and then when they're on their back bar, they will block and it will take magicka, and when they're on their front bar, They will block and it will take stamina. I did that for a while. It's very fun, but it also requires a bit more brain power. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I had way too many other things to think about. So I changed it so that now I only blocked with stamina. It's kind of nice because like then you won't like accidentally just run out of magicka, and you'll be able to like yeah, yeah, you'll be able to like manage your resources a little better. Uh, it's a little easier for the brain, but it's definitely fun gameplay. So this is what I mean. Like you can tank in so many different ways. I know some people who run staff with this one, and they just like magic a tank. You know, it's all possible, but I recommend having more stamina than magicka, and then blocking with stamina. Um, so yeah. Are there any questions on this? Like this is like the super basics on tanking, like staying alive, taunting, which weapons to use. Uh, None so far. Okay, good.
Over taunting?
Over. It used to be a thing, but it's not that big a problem anymore. Actually, it is. It happens if you and the other if you and the other tank taunts back and forth quite a few times. Like I taunt something, and then Björn taunts something, or like Rich taunts something, and then if I try to taunt it back, it might be over taunted. But if you're on your own, you can spam your taunts quite a lot, and there's no problem. Like I overcast my taunt quite a bit, but it becomes a problem if another tank wants to take my balls, and then I don't notice, and then I taunt it again. I actually don't remember exactly, but I think it's like one back and forth is okay. But I think it's like if you do two back and forths or three back and forths, that's when the problem becomes. I don't know if anybody actually knows this. If you know, please speak up. Like the exact number.
Know.
What?
Do not know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I said in chat, I think they bumped it to 5 taunts,
It's quite
but
a
I
lot.
don't
Yeah.
remember. It's like 5 or 6, maybe. We could test it, but I really don't remember.
We could test
But
it later. Yeah.
there's weird interactions on timing I've noticed. Like I've been in situations where 3 or 4 taunts over taunted, and I think it's timing based
It might be.
because
Yeah.
like let's say something people probably don't know is like at the end of your taunt it is no longer susceptible to over taunt. So like if you have a 15-second taunt and somebody taunts off you at say 2 seconds left on your taunt, it's not going to count. So timing does play a role in that, and it's real weird how it works. Like I've definitely over taunted recently at 3 to 4 taunts. So do be careful. Don't
Yeah.
spam your taunt if you're taunt swapping.
Yeah, same. And I've also like had it like I have taunted like the boss 3 times in a row because like, I don't know if I have it taunted. And then the other tank has like taunted it once and it has become over taunted. So it's
Yeah.
probably like how many times you spam it in a short window.
Yeah, it could be related to that window within the first like 5 seconds, maybe. There was something. Yeah, they didn't really do a very good job of detailing how the new overthought works, but yeah.
But I think honestly, like a rule of thumb is just that like just don't don't worry about it to begin with, and if it becomes a problem, then you can like be a little careful in that group. Yeah, I barely ever have that problem anymore.
There are also the exceptions where you can taunt an enemy and they will not move.
Oh, yeah. That is a that is a bug from ZOS. And
Yes.
the way you like the way you work around it is that you have the other tank taunted, and then they will like suddenly start moving.
I will have you know that is a feature.
Well,
Yeah, but yeah, it
Strictly a
happens.
feature.
At difficulty.
It happens a lot on like a boss in Rockgrove is like infamous for doing this. Yeah, some bosses do it more than others. It's kind of weird. But yeah, if it happens, you just have to have the other tank like taunt it first. That's what my group did in Rockcore, for example. The off tank would like taunt the boss A first, and then the main tank would just like taunt it off them like right after, and it will be okay.
It only seems to be range taunts though, because like when we were doing Messiah, when our MT ran up and retaunted with a melee taunt, she was mobile. So it only seems to be range taunts.
Yeah, true. But most people use. I do actually
Yeah.
recommend always having a range taunt on your bar. Just in case you need to taunt something that is far away and you don't want to like run over with your sword and board and be clumsy and hurry
Yeah.
before it like smacks somebody. And it's like, if you have a range taunt, it's super chill. You could just like taunt from the range. It's fine. Speaking of though, I'm gonna recommend an add-on, but a lot of people don't like this one because it clutters your screen. But like, when I taunt something here, you see like I get the target skeleton add-on on top of my my screen, and you can like see the countdown. This one is called Untaunted. Some people don't like it because they're like, oh, but you can see if it is taunted because you can see like the debuffs.
Fuck that.
Yeah, you can see like
Oh,
you can see
God.
like the debuff under this target skeleton now. You can see there's like this broken shield where it has like 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Yeah, you see it. This is the taunt timer. So this is like how the game tells you if you have taunt or not. But yeah, I like the other target skeleton thing, the add-on, because I always get so scared if I have stuff taunted or not. And it also
I
shows
swear
you
to
like,
God.
yeah.
If they removed Untaunted, I would never take in this garbage game again. Holy shit. No.
Oh no, I have
Oh,
a
God.
friend who's like taunted everything in the game, like
No,
everything
dude.
in the game, and he never uses. He's like, "What?
You got
These are
6
garbage."
ads? Like 6 ads?
Yeah.
No shot.
But like, look at this. Like, you
Is
see,
it
you can like,
Talvi?
yeah, you can follow this one. No, it's not Tavi. No, it's my friend Jay. But yeah, then
Oh.
you can see when it's like running out, and you can just like you can retaunt it. I like it at least. It's called Untaunted. It helps you a lot. Also, the stagger thing's kind of ugly on the screen now. It's gonna ruin it. But yeah, I do recommend Untaunted. You can see I also have this stupid add-on that tells me I'm blocking because I'm blind and I'm scared and I don't trust my myself. You don't actually need this one though. I'm just I'm just a goof. But yeah, I recommend Untaunted. Yeah. Well, it was back when there was a bug. So yeah, that was what I wanted to say about taunting. And then the positioning thing. That's when you have the chains. Let me put on some. You know what? I'll just put on some chains from here. It's kind of hard to like show you guys now, but in trash you always want chains, and you want chains on like a lot of bosses because if there is an ad, you want to just like chain it. So this comes in positioning, right? You want to make things as easy as possible for the DPS. And what the DPS want to do, they want to just stand and they want to parse the boss. So if there are any small ads, you will just like, you will chain them. And if I chain this, by the way, you'll see it shows up on my Untaunted. But if somebody had taunted this beforehand, it wouldn't be showing on my Untaunted. So yeah, you just want to like, it's kind of like a gameplay thing now. But sometimes it's like if there are any ads out, you can just like quickly chain them all to you, and then they will like die pretty quickly because the DPS is already on you. So yeah. Anyway, I honestly I'm gonna port I'm gonna port the VAS, and I'm gonna show you guys like just what to do with a boss gameplay wise, like how to stay alive and how to deal. I'll just pull like the boss in VAS. So basically, as a tank, you always, you start the fight, you count down, people expect this of you, or you can just like, do the backslash pull. And when you pull it, you have to, you make sure you have all your resistances up, and you want to like make sure you know the boss like semi. I'll take stagger off. I'll put something else on. I don't have anything else on though. Oh, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I figured this is kind of like easier to show you because like I think a lot of people are a little intimidated just by like, oh, big boss, I have to taunt it, I have to hold it. But it's actually not as bad as you think. It's like on my bar now, I have my taunt, and I have my shield that is also like my way of regaining stamina. I have my heal. This is just a defensive skill. This is Flare from the Alliance. This one, the support. You don't even have to morph it, but it says while slotted, you gain major protection, which reduces your damage taken by 10%. So you want to keep this on your front bar because it only works on the bar it is on. So I usually like to keep it on the front bar because that's where I usually hang out. And then on my back bar, I have, you know, my shield and this one. And the rest are utility skills. Oh yeah, the AoE type of taunt. But yeah, okay, I'll go through that after this then. And I'll go through like, because you don't actually have to taunt everything. Because like, okay, you're here, the group is here. So the thing is, every boss is like different in their mechanics. That's maybe the hardest part as a tank, is like knowing, okay, what can I eat, what do I have to block, what do I have to roll, this attack. I'm like, oh, I have to look at the boss to see like, oh, he's starting this attack now, I have to get ready to dodge. That's like the hardest part, but a lot of stuff can just be mitigated by blocking to begin with. And then you'll like learn eventually. But yeah, see, I have my 2 defensives up. And yeah, I'll pop my shield too. And then I'll taunt it. And then he comes and I hold block. You know, oh, this is an AoE. I run out. Okay, he hit me. I block. But it didn't take that much damage, right? I broke out of this. And then my taunt is running out. I re-taunt. I redo my defensives. And I block. And you can see, like, okay, so even though he looks kind of scary, you can actually eat it. Hold on. Okay, I didn't eat it. I thought I could eat it. I think you can, though. I must have done something wrong. You guys are gonna laugh at me now. Just But my whole point is, though, that, see, it wasn't actually that stressful. Like, there's not that many things happening. It's just like you hold taunts, you hold block, you heal yourself when you need to, you walk out of the AoEs, and then you can just like, you know, you can RP with the boss a little bit. Yeah. I don't know. So that, but yeah, the question that Midnight has, that is for usually for trash pulls, right? For when you have a lot of targets to taunt, because holding one boss is like, you know, it's kind of, it's self-explanatory. You taunt the boss, you keep the taunt on the boss, and you just like, you stay alive with it. I don't know. I can like go to VKA, but it'll probably not be that good. So basically, yeah, I thought that not having an AoE taunt would be a problem too when I started out, but you'll see that there's only like a select few ads that actually hurt, and the rest are just like actually trash ads that don't hurt and they don't do anything. So, okay, so say I'm here, I will go with like my trash builds. Here I will have like different stuff because I don't care that much. I'll just like, I'll have a speed skill because I like to run fast. I have my defense, and I have my chains, and my taunts. Actually, this is kind of interesting. Also, I know I'm like talking like I'm all over the place right now, so you guys gotta like, stop me and just ask questions if you want to. But yeah, the destructive clench, you'll see if you like taunt small ads, or this one, it'll actually like freeze them. So if I taunt this little vampire foot soldier, it'll freeze it. But if I taunt the bulwark there, he will not be frozen because he's a big one. You can like see the difference on the health bars. So yeah, this pull, like say you're a tank here, right? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ads, and you're like, oh god. But there's only the raider, this one, and the bulwark that actually hurt. The rest are just like, they do a little damage, but DPS can totally eat that.
Why fight us when you could join us?
And then you'll probably have a relay that tells you that, like, okay, the bulwark hurts the most, or that's at least how it is here. And the raider doesn't hurt that much, but you want to like taunt both. So when you go in, you're like, you taunt the bulwark, you taunt the raider, and you turn them away from the group. And this is actually okay, right? Here you just have to stay alive, and maybe you'll chain this one in. If I can get him though. Oh, he's frozen. And I take a lot of damage now because I have no healer. So I'm gonna die soon. But this is like the idea though. So you taunt 2, and then you just like you turn them around, and then you chain in the ones that are like outside.
We have all the time.
And usually that works. Sometimes you miss a taunt, or if there is like 4 big ads you have to taunt, then you do have to like spend 4 seconds to taunt each and every one of them. And that's why I always tell DPS, like, you know, stay back a little bit so that your tank actually has time to taunt. Because, you know, the GCD, you can only cast 1 skill a second. So yeah, that's basically taunting. And then yeah, like every trash ball, that's usually what I do. I go in, I taunt like 2 or 3 main things. And then I swap my bar, and I just taunt, I chain the rest. I just look around me in a circle, and I just like chain. And then it looks super cool. You're just standing there, and you're like, yeah. And then I would like, and then you can start doing your other stuff, right? Then you have everything settled. You're alive, you have stuff taunted, you have turned it around and away from the group so that it doesn't cleave them, because a lot of ads, they have like some sort of cleave. And then you've already like done 3 out of 4 things on the list, right? And then the DPS can just like, they can come and they can put all their hots and all their ults and everything. So
like, do you ever use Vatatron Sword and Board for like pulling everything in, or I know
it's
people
very
don't
good in
really use that in
dungeons.
trials, yeah.
In trials I don't usually, usually because there's not that many things, but definitely
It's not bad
for
on
dungeons. Huh?
It's pretty good on Onsol for the imps.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can chain them close and then yank
Oh,
them in
yeah.
with the Vat Sword and Board. We actually did that in one of my groups.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's like
I heard there,
issues. Yeah.
I heard there might be a scribed version you can do, like a pull that does the AoE thing.
There is, but it's weird.
Okay. It's like had a long
I've-
timer on it, I would assume.
Yeah, I've tried playing with those, and once you actually start doing it, like there's a hit all thing, but when you put a taunt into it, it drops it down to 1 target. So like
Oh.
it'll only taunt a single.
Yeah.
Right, it's always going to
It'll
be a pull. and
damage
you're gonna have to
everybody
taunt
else,
The
but
other advantage to
everything
the
just
Vat,
switches
though,
to single.
is it applies Major Maim to everything it pulls. So, like, when you're pulling the imps, it also maims them, which is quite strong.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, Drum, to answer your question, I think the Vatatron is very, very good in dungeons, though. You can like go, because there's like a ton of tiny ads there. Like here, you don't have that many, but in the dungeons there's so many, so you can just go there, you can hit the Vatatron, it all like comes to you. Very good, very good. I totally
Yeah, for
recommend
sure.
that.
Watching a perfect Vatatron pull is just so satisfying.
Right? Yeah, so that's actually one instance where I would recommend using a sword and board, but then it's because of the Vatatron sword and board, right? So yeah, no, definitely. There is also there are other tiny skills that would like pull stuff in for you, like the Arcanist skill, you know, the god, I don't remember what it's called. The one that's like a dot and that a lot of damage dealers use, but if you do the other morph, does anyone remember?
Fulminating Rune.
Yeah, the other morph of Fulminating Rune,
Yeah.
it does that and stuff. But that's like an Arc tank could do that for fun, you know. But this here, like taunting, chaining, every class can do it. It works every time. It's very like classic, foolproof. Yeah, it works. And yeah, positioning a little bit more. It's just that like once you have everything taunted, be it the boss or be it the ads or the trash mobs, you want to stand as still as possible as a tank. I notice a lot of tanks forget about this, and they like, oh, I hold the boss, and they move backwards, and they don't even notice that they're moving, or like, oh, I go over here, and you know, you gotta like try to stand still as possible, because all the DPS, they're gonna like be putting, you know, all their dots on the ground. So if you move the boss, they're gonna like have to spend a lot of GCDs recasting all their dots, which they could have been used doing, you know, their proper rotation. Yeah, and then, you know, the healer has to remove, like, everybody has to like spend a lot of time just recasting things because you moved. Which kind of sucks. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes you have to, but like, a rule of thumb is to try to move as little as possible once you're like holding the boss or the ads or whatever. And some things you don't even have to move away from the group, but it's like a nice rule of thumb to just like turn it away from the group, because so many bosses and so many ads, they do clean the group. Yeah. And then, you know, debuffing and buffing, which is basically what the things do. So as you can see, like on my bar here, I have igneous weapons. This is like the main buff the DK tanks provide. So if you are a DK tank, you are usually expected to run this. A few people will probably tell you to run it because they will just like expect you to have it. So that kind of sucks a bit as a tank when you're new and you don't like know what you should be running, and then people expect you to have some skills. But I'll try to like, at least in our raids, I'll try to like be clear, like, oh, I hope you will run this. So this is like, it just gives your group damage. It gives major brutality and sorcery. Which your DPS can use pots to eat it, or like to get it, but a lot of them will like expect to get it from this. Especially if you have non-Arcanist DPS. The next thing you are providing is your Blockade of Frost. This is also expected of the tanks. This comes from the Crusher enchantment, which basically it reduces the target's physical and spell resistance. Yeah. So this you know, penetration for the DPS. The penetration works on the enemy's armor, but here you're lowering the enemy's armor, which means that the DPS, they don't need that much penetration until they're like hitting through the armor, basically. So in a raid composition, you always want to have like reduce the enemy's resistances so much that, you know, the DPS don't have to worry about penetration. So that's why all the tanks are expected to run this. A lot of healers run it too, just to help with the uptimes. But yeah, the tank is expected to run it. And that is also why I have my my Blockade of Frost on my back bar. Just because it's like a super easy way to proc it. If you remember last time I talked about how if you use a skill on your like if you use a weapon skill, then it'll proc the weapon enchantment. So that's basically why we have this. It's for the Crusher. Actually, my Pulsar also here is gonna do the Crusher, but this is just for trash. I do Pulsar. Frost Pulsar. It's a little, if I have space on my bar, I like to run this. So yeah, you have this one. And then in trash, you don't have to worry too much about debuffing, because you usually will have like a crow or something. But like if you don't have that, like in a dungeon, for example, it is your responsibility to debuff all the trash. So then I like to run caltrops, because caltrops also like it gives major breach and in an AoE. And you see major breach, it also reduces physical and spell resistance. So with my Crusher and with major breach, I have already like increased DPS by a ton. So this is important to keep up. So like once I have everything taunted, I will probably like prioritize breach, and then I would do Crusher. And then, you know, things will die so much quicker. And the same with like single target. Let me see. Yeah, this is like a decent single target setup. You can see here I don't have caltrops, but I have Elisas, which is not leveled. Well, let's not Let's not talk about that. But yeah, LSS. It actually should be level though. This is actually very, very embarrassing. Yeah, but still. Still, yeah. But yeah, LSS is like, if you don't run the sorting board, if you run 2 staves, you definitely need LSS. And it's also very good because it applies all the status effects and stuff, and they do a lot of damage, and they debuff, and you know, it's a higher chance to like put on brittle. I know I'm saying a lot of like debuff names now, but the thing to remember is just that LSS is a very good debuff to put on any single target buff. So any single target fight, I will have LSS. And then I don't worry too much about minor breach, because it's like you have a Plar in your group, and there are many sources to that. So that is also important though. As a tank, you're also like expected to put on breach and crusher, and then your claws buff. And then, you know, I should probably mention like the DK. What makes like the Dragon Knight a special tank is because you have this stagger. It's like a super hard debuff to put on, so I don't actually recommend doing that if you're starting out tanking. But it's just like a little thing you can put on your bar and start playing with once you feel comfortable. I definitely do not expect my tanks to run this, and usually you will like, if a tank is running stagger, people are usually kind of impressed, just because it's kind of hard to keep up and stuff. No, I think they still have minor breach on Power of the Light.
Why fight us when you could join us?
Oh, I actually don't even remember all the sources for minor breach. I probably should have looked that up before I came here. But the point is, you don't actually have to worry too much about that. So yeah, so that's like the Dragon Knight. And then you can see like that. This is my kind's ages. A lot of tanks, they like to be vampires because you're getting a lot of ult, but that's also kind of like sweaty. You don't need that. And then I use the talents in the trash just because I like to give the DPS some extra synergy. And then, you know, there are certain fights where I like to use immovable, but that's just to like manage certain mechanics. So it's not actually a skill you want to use on a day-to-day basis. So what I recommend if you're like starting as a tank is like make one skill setup for trash, and make one skill setup for like a boss, like this one here, for example. And then you can just like run with that the whole time. It usually don't even change that much. It's like one skill here and one skill there. For ultimates, aggressive horn is your go-to. Usually you want to have aggressive horn, you don't want the other morph, because you want to give your allies the major force. That's like that's huge. Have you come to die like the rest? Yeah, and I have barrier on my front bar because it gives me sustain. Here I have 20% more magicka recovery when I have barrier on my bar. So that's basically why I have it. I don't usually use it, but it's like a nice little bar buffer. But yeah, you run whichever ult your raid lead usually asks for. But yeah, for dungeons, usually you have to remember that like you are usually like the sole provider of a lot of these buffs and debuffs. So then I like to change my setup a little bit. But I will probably like run something similar. Probably like have caltrops on my bar instead of pulse up, for example, because you know it's a smaller composition and you want to have all the debuffs and stuff like that. Are there any questions so far? I know I'm jumping like from this thing to this thing. Yeah, there are like different like a list of buffs and debuffs. Okay, well, the most important one is obviously it's the major breach. It's this one, the major breach that comes from elemental susceptibility. There is one that is minor breach too, but it has like a lot of other sources. Like I said, all that. Yeah. Yeah, the brittle is another debuff. A lot. Yeah, it comes from just like, honestly, maybe Bjorn can help me here. I think it just comes from light attacking with a an ice staff, and when you're like, you have your wall down and you light attack with your ice staff, then it's, and you have like your Elisas also
You mean
from your
minor
ice
brittle?
staff. Yeah, brittle. Where it comes from? It comes
Minor
from like
brittle
Elisas.
applies. So how minor brittle works is it's you apply chilled to a target that's already chilled.
Okay, yeah, good.
That's
Thank
what
you.
triggers minor brittle. But light attacks, I don't think can apply chilled. I think it's only Elisas plus wall. The same way for off balance. You can do the same thing with a lightning
Oh
staff
yeah.
and then Elisas for OB.
Okay, well, yeah, that's the answer then for the brittle. So yeah, basically, when you're running the setup, you get brittle anyway, and then you also get brittle if you're using frost clench, because yeah, it says it applies the chilled status effect, so it works. But again, it's actually not the recommended taunt these days. It's actually inner fire. That
Yeah,
is
a
the
lot of groups have
recommended.
swapped out that they run the arc skill for just 100% brittle uptime, and then you don't have
Yeah,
to
but
stress it
honestly,
anymore. Colorless pool.
in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think the tanks should be able to provide enough brittle for it to be okay, so that you don't like have to jail an Arcanist in that skill. I see some Arcanists in our groups are actually running it, and I think it's great that they're providing the debuff, but it's actually the tank's job. So yeah, those debuffs. I'm trying to think of which other ones there is, because like, yeah, and you know the one from Crusher. That's just a standalone thing. You know, it's like you just reduce the physical and spell resistance. It's called Crusher in the logs too. Um, and then you want to like, yeah, and then you want to make sure to keep your resolve up. That's like the most important thing, and the thing I see a lot of tanks not do. It's like they don't keep their resolve up. And you also like, speaking of like resistances and stuff, you can see my armor has a lot of reinforced because I am not a Nord, so I don't have all the passives. Yeah, here I use sturdy. So yeah, as you can see, I use the multi-effect enchantment and reinforced. That's what gives you the most resources when you use the multi-effect enchantment. But it's from Hakeja, so it's kind of expensive. And it's not like a make or break. It just gives you a little more, like it just increases your resource pool a little bit. But yeah, just make sure to like have enough reinforced. If you're a Nord, you probably don't even need as many as I do. I think you can just like make do with one or two, or you have to check it out actually. So yeah, you can see the biggest piece that gives the most armor is the chest piece, and then you have the medium pieces, which is the hat, and the shoulders and the legs. These are all the same. You might think that the shoulders have like a lower armor, but it doesn't. It has the same as the hat. It just gives a smaller enchantment, but the armor is the same. And then you have the shoes, which are a little less, and then the smallest pieces are the hands and the. Now the sash is the smallest one, and then the hands, and then the shoes. Yeah. Yeah. That was like a little trivia. Yeah, and then but yeah, thank you. It just looked weird because my shoes weren't gold, so I got a little confused. Yeah, that's what I thought. But yeah, so like gameplay wise, right? The DK tank plays a lot with shields because you have your igneous shields that you play with a lot. You have your hardened armor, which also gives you a shield, and then you have to like make sure to always manage your resources and like use your skills to get more stam. And then the DK, when you ult, you get all your resources back. You get health, you get stam, you get mag. I'll just show you just for fun. Yeah, you see, and I get it all back again. So that's how DKs, they manage their sustain. So if you're a DK tank and you have issues, you can like just ult and you heal, you get everything back, and it's like a failsafe. So that's how DK tanks they play. It's very simple, sorta, except the stagger. It's very fun. And then for DK, then I usually like I like to run Bastion because I have so many shields anyway. So yeah, so the DK is like your shields, and then you have your heal, and then you're like your real proper tank, you know. I think that's it on the DK. I'll go to my my Necro and show you guys if you wanna. Or do you guys want to see a different tank? Because they have kind of different gameplay. Wait, what are you saying? The Undaunted passives. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot. Yeah, so there people prefer, you know, some people prefer to run, yeah, 5-1-1 as Hammer's Head is writing. I run all heavy. But you can
You're
easily.
trolling.
But I am not a Nord though, so I do need all heavy to get my resistance cap, right? Otherwise, I would be under. But yeah, if you're a Nord or like you set up your character differently, you can definitely do 5-1-1 and you'll get more resources. So that's another way to manage your resources. And also, the glyphs on your rings. My glyphs here, they are all magicka, reduced magicka costs, because if you think about it, I don't actually have that many stamina skills. Like, okay, I buy vigorous stam, then mag, and this is nothing. Because I have my magicka request stuff. Mag, you know, mag, my taunt is mag. But yeah, the DK kind of doesn't want to do all magicka requests. You might want to do more reduce all three, just because you want to like stagger and blah blah blah. But the other classes, I usually just like run all reduce magicka cost, and it makes my life a lot easier. But some people, they like to do like reduce block cost, and some people prefer to use the magicka recovery. But so there are a lot of different. Some people prefer to use the harmony trait and not the infuse trait, but then you have to be a little more careful with the synergies and like take them when you need them, and it's like it's a little more brain power, but it's definitely like a fun type of gameplay. So again, you can decide a lot for yourself how you want to play. Yeah, harmony. Yeah, I see Rich is also a harmony, bro. I am an infused gal. I don't like to use my brain more than I have to. I already think it's kind of hard to manage my stam sometimes. So a lot of the times you'll like notice if you tank, you're holding block, and then you have too many things hitting you, and it doesn't matter how hard they're hitting. It's just that if you're hit by something, it takes away the stam that it takes to block. So if you have 3 ads on you and they're all hitting you, one boss, one little imp, and like, you know, a mini, they will all 3 will like take the same amount of stam from your bar. So that's why a lot of the times you like notice, oh, my stam is going down, or what is hitting me? And then there could be like some ad out in the shell that's just hitting you. So yeah, that's also why a tank doesn't want to like hold that many things at the same time, because your stam will just get nuked. So then you have to let go of block sometimes. It kind of sucks, but you have to. And sometimes if like there's a lot of damage, AoE damage going out that is blockable, you have to just like let go of your block, otherwise you'll just like lose all your stamina right away. But there is no shame in like perma blocking, as people say. A lot of people will be like, oh, a bear tank is a perma blocking tank. But that is not true, because some bosses you do need to perma block. Like, if you guys have tried to tank VKA Polgraven, right? He hurts so much, you like have to block every single attack. And you can't like pay attention and like look at him and like let go of block for a second and then block again when you see him lifting his hand. But it's a lot of brain power. Whereas other bosses, they do a lot of mechs and you can just let go of block for a while and regain your stamina. But yeah, again, that's like a gameplay thing. Yeah, I also 100% perma block Foggraven, and I will 100% perma block. Okay, I can't remember exactly now, but yeah, exactly. And then yeah, you're like, but that is like an experience thing. So if like tanks die, you can like think that, oh, they probably like didn't know when to let go of block, or like they were testing out to see how this worked, and then okay, they get hit by a light attack that hurts a lot, but then that's okay, you know, because they have to figure it out. So this is the Necromancer, right? The Necromancer has a whole different gameplay. It has yeah, this is my trash setup though. It's kind of bad. Yeah, this is my boss setup for dungeons. This is nice. So like here you can see I use this scribing. This is a scribing pool I was talking about earlier. So you need the what do I put? A wheeled soul. Yeah, you have the pole, and then I put on this one just to help with my sustain. And then I did vitality. Because there just wasn't anything else I wanted to do. But like you could probably like do breach if you wanted to, put breach on the ads that you're chaining. That's probably pretty good. But then in my groups we have the AoE breach anyway, so there's no point. So you can like make this your own. This is actually very good for all classes that aren't the DK. I would recommend using this to pull. And on top of that, you know, like it's a major skill. No, it's not. Wait. It's a soul magic skill. So you get like, you know, you get like this little thing here. It doesn't matter though. But yeah, so the Necromancer, he does it, like your heal for the Necromancer is your scythe, but it actually has to hit a mob, or it has to hit something. So that makes the Necromancer a little harder because you always have to like make sure you have something to scythe. That's why they're kind of bad tanks if you like have to go out and stand on your own without an ad, because you don't actually have a burst heal that doesn't require you scything something. And the Necromancer is also very well known for being able to withstand the dots, like heavy damage over time effects on you. It's because you have the Spirit Guardian skill, which is very, very good. It gives you like a flat 10 damage reduction when you have it up to all damage, which is very, very good. This is like the shield, you know, it has another shield, it has the resolve, just like the Dragon Knight did. And then it has this the tether skill. The other morph of this one is the sustain skill. So since the Necromancer doesn't have like the Dragon Knight that can use their ult and use like their shields to get their stand back, then you can use your sustain skill, for example. Another thing that the Necromancer is very well known for is the ultigen, like the generating the ult, and that comes from necrotic potency. So I always keep that on my bar if I don't know what to use, just because every time something dies, you use it and you heal a little bit, and then you get more ult, and then it reduces your damage taken. It's just generally a very good skill. And then you can see I have my flare again, and then I have my inner rage again. So it's a lot of the same things. I have the frost thing again, and this is my AoE breach. And you know, and that's it again. And yeah, you have the Colossus, which gives major vulnerability. That's another debuff. But that's usually the raid lead's problem again, though. But if you're like running a dungeon, having major vulnerability in your group is very good. So then you either want the Necromancer with the Colossus, or you want to like run the set Turning Tide, or you can run like Archdruid Deveric, or you can like put up a composition that gives that one way or another. So yeah, that's like that's the necromancer. It's kind of, it's different though. As you, I hope you can like agree with me on that, that it has a different gameplay. Like you can see, it doesn't have a single shield. It's all about just like having your bow stuff and like mitigating the damage rather than like shielding it or healing through it a lot. Well, you do use your scythe, but you get what I mean. Are there any questions until now? Yeah, spam scythe when you're dying. That's what I do. It works. I can be like, yeah, and like you see every boss here, like it has, I do have different setups on each of them. Just because you have to like try out, you see what do I need. On some bosses like the Reef Guardian, I didn't need the flare because, you know, it wasn't taking that much damage. And then you like switch it out. And yeah, sometimes I use Warding Contingency on my Necro, just because it gives a very good shield to the whole group. This is also a scribing thing. It's from Oldfield's Contingency. But I'm not actually too much a fan of scribing, but a lot of people are, I think. But this is generally very good, and you know, it gives you a lot of great buffs. So yeah, so when you like pick which class you want to tank, you can like think about like a little bit on the gameplay. So like the DK has the stagger, whereas the Necro doesn't have that, but the Necro has the ulti-gen, so usually you're like tasked to like gain a lot of ult, blah 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 blah. Let me see. I'm not reading the chat, by the way, but if it's something important, will you guys let me know? Are there any questions? I've been talking so much now. I bet you guys are kind of sick of hearing me talk and say the same thing over and over. This totally just became a lecture. Oh yeah, CPs. Okay, that is actually a very good question. Yeah, it became like a total lecture. Actually, if you guys like wanted to try tanking and are a little intimidated, I would totally like do a dungeon with you, or like we could do like a specific trial if you want to like learn it better. But yeah, must-haves, tank CP. Obviously you want the bulwark if you have a frost staff. But actually, I think it's good anyway. And most tanks, they have a frost staff as the backbore anyway. So this is the must-have. And then you kind of have to play a little with the CP and figure out what you need. So unassailable gives reduces the area of effect attacks. Enduring resolve, damage over time effects. Duelist rebuff single target attacks. You have Ironclad, direct damage attacks. And those are like the 4 main ones, but you don't have space for them all, so you have to like for each boss, at least if you do a trial, I would probably like think about what each boss does. Maybe like ask somebody who would know. I ask my friends a lot, like, oh god, which CP do you use on this boss, right? Because, oh, this boss doesn't actually have that many damage over time attacks, so you don't need this. You would be better off doing the single target, right? But usually what I do, I do the area of effects, and I do damage over time, and I do direct damage. And that usually works for 90% of the bosses. And then you can like switch it out with single target attacks if like you notice that, oh, this boss is hitting me very hard with his light attacks, you know. And sometimes you can see I have some of the healing stuff here too. I like to use focused mending. I can actually show you guys, because like if you just look at my site here, right now it'll heal me for 5,300 health. But then if I put on focused mending here, you can actually see like what that does. But wait, oh no, I did put it on, right? It should be something else. I tested it earlier. and it gave so much more. Alright, I'm not wearing food.
You might have had buffs on, yeah.
I had buffs on. Yeah, like, okay, it gave a little more now, but I had the buffs. It kind of sucks now, though, because I was gonna be like, ta-da! And it wasn't as much of a ta-da as I had hoped. But basically, it boosts your heal by 10%. It's quite a lot as a tank. It doesn't look like that now, though, because I messed up my thing. But trust me, it totally does. Let me see again. It's not as much as I thought it would be. I'm very disappointed now. But basically, I do actually use focus mending on some bosses when I know it's gonna be kind of heavy for myself to heal. But yeah, usually this is what I do though. I do these, and for the red ones, oh yeah, and obviously like you get all the other ones that aren't slaughterables, like your all the ones that aren't slaughterables actually. Don't look at this though, because this is really bad. I haven't actually put all my CP in. We don't tell anybody. This is so bad. It's recording and everything. Yeah, don't be like me though. Put all your CP in. But yeah. Oh yeah, and the preparation CP too, I should probably mention. And this one is also very good, you know, especially as a tank you need this, but even as a DPS. This one is good. And for the red ones, it's the same thing. You kind of like have to figure out what you need. But I usually run fortified because I'm not a Nord. Again, I run boundless vitality for health because a lot of my heals and my shields, they scale off of max health as a tank. So it's kind of nice to have health, especially like if you're a Sork. Then it's very nice to have health because the Sork plays off its big shield. Yeah, I have celerity for trash, and I run rejuvenation because usually there's not that much else you can run. But then, as a tank, there's actually a lot of fun things to do. Like you can do bastion if you have shields on. You can do this own guard thing. It's very cool if you're like under the crowd control immunity thing. Like if you have immovable on your bar. So it's like bracing anchor, also another very good one to increase your block mitigation. Block mitigation is very useful for targets that hit you very hard. So targets that you have to block, and even when they hit you, they take your health down to say 20-30%. If you then add this one, it'll just add your block mitigation. And it'll be, you know, it'll help you a lot. So you can run this one for a lot of bosses. Actually, I kind of recommend putting that on your single target setup, and you can just start out with this one, and then you can like play around and you can take it off later. But it's a very like nice safe thing. And
Ward
then,
Master.
huh?
Ward Master.
It's from this Ward Master, yeah.
It's in bracing anchor, same spot. Ward Master's busted as shit.
Yeah. That is actually, I actually do that on my DK.
Yeah, DK Sork, super good for them.
That was actually, thank you. I totally forgot about this one. But yeah, I don't use them on Necro though because I don't usually run a damage shield. But yeah, the other two, it's amazing. Thank you. But yeah, you just have to like run check and see like what you need. I usually run expert evasion too if like I'm struggling with stam and I know I have to roll the heavy attacks, for example. Then this is like huge. And then for specific fights, I would use slippery. But it all depends on like what you need in each fight.
The other one I would mention for specific encounters is Sustained by Suffering. On a fight like Cloud Rest or Fallgraven, that CP is insanely good.
Yeah. And on the Teleria and on Locestes.
Yeah. Anywhere you're going to be permadotted, basically. That thing is nutty.
And honestly, even if you aren't permadotted, like say you're doing a boss and it puts like a really nasty dot on you, right? And that's when you struggle the most. You can put this on because this will help your sustain when you're having issues.
Basai. Be a good one for Basai, actually.
It would be a perfect one, yeah. So yeah, you can like, this is thank you. This is very good, but you gotta like put it on in certain fights only. So it's not like a universal thing. You just have to like beware. But it's very, very good, yes. Mostly for tanks, but like even DPS can run it on some fights when they take like damage the whole time, like in Sunspire and Lochestes. But yeah, I have it on Teleria, for example, when I'm tanking this, because it hurts a lot and I am always debuffed. So CP as a tank is a little tricky, but I recommend just ask your group, ask your raid lead, ask your team members if you're like unsure of what to run. Well, somebody in my house.
If I may, thanks for doing this event. I have to go, but really do this again. This is you've put out a lot of good, helpful information out there that hopefully will get more people into tanking. And
Thank you
if
for
if you also come with one to do for healers,
yeah, maybe
that
I
would go well.
will.
I mean, because both of them, I mean, healing and tanking, they're both thankless jobs. But
For sure.
once but everybody's going to blame you. But
I was going to say, if you choose to heal, it's already your fault.
Yeah, the people that blame you are people that you don't want to play with, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
for real.
simple as that. Because hey, it's the whole. All right, you come out here and do this, and they'll never do it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think a lot of people are impatient with tanks just because they have never tanked themselves before.
Right, and it is a. I mean, there's. Oh, someone mentioned is, any class can tank.
Any class can tank. That is true.
Tank in the class that you're comfortable with, and that's half the battle. You don't have to be a dragon knight. You don't have to be a necromancer.
True.
You
Yeah,
could be
I can show the Sork actually.
sorcerers. Yeah, sorcerers are brutal tanks.
Man, I think it's important actually that you're saying that people need to appreciate the tanks more.
Yeah, and go with the class you like playing, and there you go.
Yeah, and as you can see, you don't need a Nord to be a tank. I don't like playing Nords. I don't like their aesthetic. But a lot of like sweaty people will be like, "Oh, you gotta be a Nord or you gotta be a Dark Elf." But it's
you do not. Oh, yeah. Here's the last thing before I have to go. You do not have to play the meta.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. I mean, sure, once you get into like rarefied air, with trifectas in that, but hell, even for vet dungeons or even vet hard mode, you don't have to play meta. And I think that's what a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think a lot of people don't think.
No, you're very right. I was just gonna say that like I have tanked almost all the trial trifectas on a tank that hasn't been the meta race. People make fun of me, but it works.
Exactly. Yeah. It works, and I think that's what a lot of people are seeing is, yeah, you can play that sweaty meta, but man, go be a dark elf, Templar, and tank, and you'll have a ball. You're not chasing. Yeah, you're not chasing numbers. Yeah. But thanks for running this, and please, I hope you do run it again because I mean.
Well, it's like a lecture now, though, so I feel a little awkward. Maybe next time we could like do something a little more interactive. I know a lot of like they've had interactive courses before. That could be fun.
I think
that's cool. I think a lot of us were trying to not like jump in and interpose and like over talk over you, but yeah, I think this has been a great class. So let's.
You're doing great.
Keep going.
You have a good night.
No, I just wanted to like show you guys the sword just because it's like a different gameplay again. But again, you can see I have, inner rage. But then I am notorious at not leveling my skills. Don't be like me. Level your skills. Yeah. But it's to be like that. I am
ambulance. What was that?
I'm lazy. Well,
the pain.
But anyway, it's like the Sork has the shield. This is like the main Sork thing. And the Sork, you can